He slammed his palm against the wooden shrine door before anyone could stop him. The sound echoed through the silent village square. "Tunde!" Chief Okoro's voice cracked through the air. "Don't touch that!" But Tunde Adewale had already pushed the door open. Dust rose. The carved masks inside stared back at him. The air felt thick, but he refused to show fear. "I am tired of this drama," he said, turning to the elders gathered behind him. "This land belongs to my family now. I will build on it." Mom and Kem stepped forward slowly, her walking stick pressing into the sand. "Your father never opened that door without kneeling first." "My father lived in fear," Tunde replied sharply. "I don't," the villagers murmured. Tunde brushed past them and walked straight into the shrine, his polished shoes scraping the ancient floor. He reached out and grabbed the old ceremonial bowl placed at the center. "If this is what you're all afraid of," he said, lifting it, "then maybe it's time we ended this nonsense." A sharp wind rushed through the square. The bowl slipped from his hand. It shattered. Silence fell. Mom and Kem closed her eyes. Chief Okoro whispered, "It has begun." Tunde laughed, but the sound was forced. "Nothing has begun. You people are too attached to stories." He walked away from the shrine without looking back. That night, he sat inside his late father's house, flipping through old documents. His daughter Amara sat on the floor nearby, drawing quietly. "Tunde," his wife Kemi said softly, standing at the doorway, "do we really need to destroy that place?" He didn't look up. "It's just land. Prime land. Do you know what a luxury estate here will bring? Investors, roads, development. And the people? They'll benefit." Kemi hesitated. "Your father never touched that shrine." "My father also believed thunder was a message from spirits," Tunde replied. "We're not living in that time anymore." Amara suddenly stopped drawing. "Daddy." "Yes." "They're angry." The room went still. Tunde finally looked at her. "Who is angry, princess?" She looked up slowly. "The old ones." Kemi frowned. "What old ones?" Amara blinked as if confused. "The ones outside." Tunde stood and walked to the window. The compound was empty. "There's no one there." Amara lowered her eyes and continued drawing. Later that night, Tunde couldn't sleep. He kept hearing something. Not loud, just faint, like whispers outside his window. He sat up. "Tunde." The voice seemed to stretch through the wind. He shook his head. "This is ridiculous." He lay back down. But when he closed his eyes, he saw his father standing inside the shrine. "You shouldn't have touched it," his father said calmly. "It's just wood and clay," Tunde replied in the dream. His father looked disappointed. "It is blood." Tunde woke up sweating. He switched on the light immediately. Kemi stirred. "What is it?" "Nothing," he said quickly. "Just a dream." But when he looked at his palm, he froze. There was a thin line across it. Fresh. Bleeding. He stared at it. "I must have scratched myself," he muttered. The next morning, the bulldozers arrived. Villagers gathered at a distance. Mom and Kem stood near the entrance of the shrine. "Tunde," she called calmly. He walked toward her, confident, though his palm was bandaged. "You still have time," she said. "For what?" "To kneel." He gave a short laugh. "Mom and Kem, I respect you, but I don't believe in invisible threats." She studied him carefully. "Belief is not required. Blood remembers." "Enough of that word," he snapped. "There will be no blood." She nodded slowly. "There already is." He walked away. The machine engines roared. The first bulldozer moved toward the shrine. Suddenly, it stopped. The driver jumped down, shaking. "Sir, it won't move." "What do you mean it won't move? It's brand new." "It just died." Tunde motioned to the second operator. "You, move forward." The second bulldozer roared and advanced. It got closer. Then the engine cut off. Dead silence. The villagers began whispering again. Tunde's jaw tightened. "This is mechanical failure." Mom and Kem's voice rose slightly. "It is a warning." He turned sharply. "Stop saying that." Chief Okoro stepped forward. Your father performed the oath every year. Quietly. No sacrifice. Just blood from his own palm. To honor the covenant. There is no covenant. There is, Chief Okoro replied gently. Your bloodline swore to protect this land. If you refuse, the ancestors will collect what is owed. Tunde laughed again, but it lacked confidence. Collect what? My money? Mom and Kem's eyes were steady. Your blood. Kemi, who had been standing behind, stepped closer to him. Tunde, maybe listen. He shook his head. No. This is fear controlling you. Amara suddenly ran from the house toward them. Daddy! He turned quickly. Amara, go back inside. She stopped in front of the shrine. Her voice changed. It deepened slightly. You broke it. Everyone froze. Kemi grabbed her shoulders. Amara? She looked straight at Tunde. You broke the bowl. Tunde felt a chill. It was an old bowl. It carried promise, she said. Mom and Kem whispered. They are speaking. Tunde's face hardened. This is enough. He picked up his daughter and carried her back inside. Don't encourage this nonsense, he told Kemi firmly. She probably heard you people talking. But inside, something unsettled him. That evening, he sat alone in his father's old study. He found a small notebook hidden inside a drawer. It contained only one repeated sentence written over the years. They do not demand death. They demand remembrance. Tunde stared at it for a long time. He closed the book. This ends with me, he whispered. Outside, the wind began to rise again, and somewhere beyond the trees, something ancient was waiting patiently. If you're already feeling the tension build, make sure you stay with this story until the very end. What would you do if tradition demanded something you didn't believe in? Keep watching, because Tunde is about to find out that denial has consequences. The wind did not stop that night. It circled the house like something searching for an entrance. Tunde sat at the dining table staring at the small notebook he had found in his father's study. Kemi stood by the window, arms folded tightly. This village is not normal tonight, she whispered. It's just wind, Tunde replied, though his voice lacked its usual strength. Amara walked slowly into the room. Daddy? She said softly. Why did you make them sad? Tunde forced a smile. Nobody is sad, princess. They are. Kemi knelt in front of her. Who are they? Amara? The old fathers. Tunde's jaw tightened. That's enough. Amara, go to bed. She didn't move. They said you must say sorry. Tunde stood abruptly. Who told you that? She blinked as if confused again. I don't know. Kemi gently guided her away. Come, let's sleep. When the room became quiet, Kemi returned. Tunde, this isn't normal. Children imagine things. She's never imagined like this before. Tunde rubbed his face. You're letting the atmosphere affect you. Kemi sat across from him. And you're pretending nothing is happening. He looked at her sharply. Nothing is happening. A loud bang hit the front door. Both of them froze. Another bang followed. Tunde walked slowly toward the entrance. He opened it. No one. Just the wind. He stepped outside. The village square was empty, but the shrine door, broken earlier, was now standing upright again. He stared at it. That's impossible, he muttered. He walked closer. The shattered bowl pieces were gone. Replaced. Whole. His breathing grew shallow. This is some kind of trick. Is it? He turned. Mom and Kem stood a few feet behind him. You shouldn't wander at night, she said calmly. Who fixed this? He demanded. She didn't answer immediately. Did you think breaking it would end it? I don't believe in this. She stepped closer. Belief is not permission. He exhaled sharply. What do they want from me? She held his gaze. Acknowledgement. By cutting myself? A few drops of blood in remembrance. The oath renews protection. And if I refuse? She paused. The land rejects you. He scoffed. Land doesn't reject. Blood does. He stepped back. I'm done listening. She didn't argue. Tomorrow at sunset, she said quietly. They will ask again. He turned away. Inside the house, he paced. Kemi watched him carefully. What happened? Nothing. You're shaking. I'm not. She walked closer. You saw something. He hesitated. Then he snapped. Even if I did, it doesn't change anything. She lowered her voice. Why are you fighting this so hard? Because it's manipulation. Or maybe it's responsibility. He stared at her. My father hid this from me. Maybe he protected you. From what? From carrying it too early. He laughed bitterly. So now it's my turn? Yes. Her answer was firm. Silence settled between them. Later that night, Amara screamed. Both parents rushed to her room. She sat upright in bed, eyes open but distant. Amara! Kemi cried. She turned slowly toward them. Why did you break it? She asked again. Tun's heart pounded. Amara, look at me. She tilted her head. Your father promised, she said, voice layered as if more than one spoke. Tun stepped back. Kemi grabbed his arm. Do something. What do you want? Tun shouted. Amara's lips moved slowly. Remember. Then she collapsed back onto the pillow. Kemi burst into tears. This is not imagination. Tun stood frozen. For the first time, fear fully entered his eyes. The next morning, the village felt heavy. People avoided him. Chief Okoro approached calmly. You cannot run from lineage, the chief said gently. I'm not running. You're resisting. Because it makes no sense. Chief Okoro nodded. Your great-grandfather was like you, educated, proud, and... He refused the oath. Tun's eyes narrowed. What happened? There was drought that year. Then sickness. That could have been coincidence. Yes, the chief agreed softly. It could. They stood silently for a moment. Tund, the chief continued. This is not about fear. It is about belonging. I belong here whether I bleed or not. The chief's voice lowered. Belonging is not claimed. It is honored. Tund looked away. That afternoon, he tried calling his business partner in the city. No network. He walked further out of the compound. Still nothing. Frustration boiled inside him. This is ridiculous. Mama Kem's voice floated from behind. Some connections must be restored before others return. He turned angrily. Stop speaking in riddles. She met his anger with calm. Why are you afraid? I am not afraid. She nodded slowly. Then prove it. Kneel. He clenched his fists. I will not cut myself for shadows. She sighed softly. It is not cutting. It is commitment. Commitment to what? Spirits. To your blood. He walked away again. But as sunset approached, the sky turned deep red. The villagers gathered quietly near the shrine. Not shouting. Not threatening. Just waiting. Kemi stood beside him. Please, she whispered. Amara held his hand. Daddy, it hurts. He looked down sharply. What hurts? She pressed her chest lightly. Here. His breath caught. Mom and Kem stepped forward. They are asking gently. Tund looked at his daughter. Fear battled pride inside him. If you've ever struggled between pride and responsibility, you understand this moment. Before what happens next, tell me in the comments. Would you kneel, or would you stand your ground? And if you're enjoying this story so far, make sure you like the video so others can find it too. The red sky deepened, and Tund had seconds to decide. The sky burned red as the sun lowered itself behind the trees. Tund stood in the center of the square, his daughter's small hand trembling inside his. Daddy? Amara whispered again, pressing her chest lightly. It feels heavy. Kemi's eyes were already wet. Please, Tund. This is not about pride anymore. He swallowed hard. I will not let fear control me, he said, but his voice had softened. Mom and Kem stepped closer, holding a small calabash bowl and a short ceremonial blade. Her voice was calm, almost tender. No one is forcing you, but when a promise is made in blood, it must be remembered in blood. I never made a promise, Tund replied. She shook her head slowly. Your name carries it. Chief Okoro added quietly. Your father renewed it every year. He said you would understand one day. Tun's jaw tightened. He should have told me. He wanted you to choose freely, the chief said. Amara suddenly pulled her hand away from him and walked toward the shrine. Amara! Kemi cried, but the child stopped in front of the door and placed her palm against it. They are waiting, she said softly. Tun's breathing became uneven. He walked toward her. This is not real, he muttered. This is stress. Suggestion.
Mom and Kim spoke gently.
Then test it. He turned sharply. How? Ask them. He stared at her as if she had lost her mind. Ask them what they want. Silence spread across the square. Tund faced the shrine. What do you want? He shouted. The wind rose instantly, circling them. Not violent, not destructive, just present. Amara's voice came again, layered and slow. Remember. Tund's shoulders dropped slightly. Remember what? He asked, this time quieter. Who you are. Tears formed in Kemi's eyes. Mom and Kem stepped forward carefully and extended the small blade toward him. It is only a drop, she said. A sign. He stared at it. His pride screamed inside him. But his daughter's small body began to sway. Kemi held her quickly. She's burning up, Kemi cried. Tun's heart pounded. This is emotional manipulation, he whispered to himself. Mom and Kem shook her head. No one here benefits from your pain. Chief Okoro added, we only benefit from peace. Tund looked at Amara. Her eyes were unfocused. Daddy, she whispered weakly. He felt something break inside him. He turned toward Mom and Kem. If I do this, he said slowly, this ends. She nodded. It renews. And if I refuse? She didn't answer immediately. Then it continues. He took the blade. The metal felt cold against his palm. He hesitated. Why blood? He asked quietly.
Mom and Kim smiled faintly.
Because blood carries memory. It binds the living and the dead. He closed his eyes briefly. Then he pressed the blade lightly across his palm. A thin line opened. A single drop fell. Then another. Mom and Kem held the bowl beneath his hand. The drops touched the bottom. The wind stopped. Completely. Silence. Amara gasped sharply.
My people, I
Her
stand
body
before you to do with the
relaxed
Hasiri heart.
instantly.
Together
Kemi
we
held
will
her
overcome
tightly,
these challenges
crying
and build a
softly.
brighter future.
The sky above shifted from red to deep blue. Tund opened his eyes slowly. Nothing dramatic happened. No thunder. No voices. Just stillness. He looked at Mom and Kem. That's it. She nodded. That is enough. He stared at his bleeding palm. That's all they wanted? Yes, she said gently. Acknowledgement. Chief Okoro stepped forward. The oath is simple. Protect the land. Do not sell what carries memory. Lead without forgetting. Tund looked around the village square. The people were no longer whispering. They looked relieved. Not victorious. Relieved. Kemi walked toward him with Amara now fully awake. Daddy, Amara said softly, touching his arm. They said thank you. Tund's eyes filled with emotion he hadn't expected. He looked at Mom and Kem again. What if I fail? She answered calmly. Then you renew again. He gave a short, almost broken laugh. Every year. Yes. He shook his head slightly. My father carried this alone. Yes, she replied. He did. Silence settled between them, but it felt different now. Lighter. Tund looked at the shrine door. It will not be demolished, he said quietly. A faint smile appeared on Chief Okoro's face. That is wise. But, Tund added firmly, this village still needs development.
Mom and Kim nodded.
Tradition is not against progress. Then we build around it, he said. Chief Okoro extended his hand. That is balance. They shook. Later that night, Tund sat outside alone. Kemi joined him. You look different, she said softly. I feel different. Angry? No. Relieved. He thought about it. Yes. And confused. She leaned her head against his shoulder. You don't have to understand everything to respect it. He nodded slowly. I was fighting something that wasn't attacking me. It was calling you. He exhaled deeply. I hated that I had to kneel. But you chose to. He looked at her. That makes the difference. Inside the house, Amara slept peacefully. Tunde looked up at the night sky. No red moon. Just calm darkness. You think this is over? He asked quietly. Kemi smiled faintly. I think it has just begun. If this moment moved you, pause for a second and tell me. Have you ever had to humble yourself for something bigger than your pride? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Stories like this remind us that strength is not always loud. Sometimes it kneels. But Tunde would soon discover that remembrance requires more than one drop. The next morning felt unfamiliar, not because something dramatic had changed, but because everything felt steady. Tunde woke before sunrise. For the first time since arriving in the village, his chest felt light. He stepped outside and saw Chief Okoro already seated under the old Irako tree. You didn't sleep? Tunde asked as he approached. The chief smiled faintly. I sleep better when balance is restored. Tunde sat beside him. Was it really that simple? Yes. Then why make it sound terrifying? Chief Okoro chuckled. You heard terror because you were resisting. Tunde looked down at his bandaged palm. My father carried this alone. He believed you would reject it. And I did. Yes, the chief replied calmly. But you still chose. Tunde exhaled slowly. I thought they wanted something extreme, something violent. The ancestors are not monsters, Chief Okoro said gently. They are memory, and memory becomes restless when ignored. Tunde nodded. Mom and Kemi approached them quietly. You should speak to the people, she said to Tunde. About what? About your plans. He hesitated. They probably still don't trust me. They will listen. Later that afternoon, the villagers gathered again. This time there was no tension, just expectation. Tunde stood before them, not in anger, not in pride. I was wrong, he began simply. A ripple moved through the crowd. I came here thinking I understood progress. I thought development meant removing what felt old. He paused. I forgot that roots are not obstacles. Mom and Kemi nodded slightly. I will not destroy the shrine, Tunde continued. Instead, I will build around it. Roads, a health center, a school. But this place remains. An elderly woman raised her hand. And the oath. He lifted his palm gently. I will honor it. The crowd murmured softly, not in excitement but approval. Chief Okoro spoke up. Then you lead. Tunde swallowed. Lead? He repeated. Yes. You want me as chief?
Mama and Kemi smiled faintly.
Not chief. Guardian. He hesitated. I don't know how. You learn, she said. That evening, Tunde walked alone toward the shrine. He didn't enter. He stood outside it. I don't understand everything, he said quietly into the air. But I will not fight you anymore. The wind brushed lightly past him. Not cold, not warm, just present. He nodded once. Inside the house, Kemi watched him from a distance. He's changing, she whispered to herself. Amara joined her. They like him now. Kemi knelt beside her. Who likes him? The old fathers. Do they still speak? Amara shrugged. Not loud. Later that night, Tunde gathered his family at the dining table. We're staying longer, he announced. Kemi smiled softly. I thought so. And Amara will learn more about this place. Amara grinned. Can Mama and Kemi teach me? Tunde hesitated for a split second. Then he nodded. Yes. The next few days were calm. Too calm. No voices. No red sky. No strange events. But Tunde felt something new inside him, awareness. He noticed the old carvings in the compound walls. The symbols etched by generations before him. He had ignored them before. Now he looked at them differently. One evening, as he reviewed architectural plans for the new road layout, his phone buzzed. Network returned. His business partner's voice exploded through the speaker. Tunde, what happened? You disappeared. Just village matters. Well, investors are asking questions. Are we clearing that land? Tunde paused.
No.
What? We're adjusting the plan. You're joking. I'm not. Do you know how much money is involved? Yes. And you're changing it for what? Tunde looked toward the shrine visible through his window. For balance. There was a long silence. You've changed, his partner said. Yes. That's not always good in business. It is in life. He ended the call calmly. Kemi, who had been listening nearby, smiled. That was bold. It was necessary. He leaned back in his chair. For the first time, I feel like I'm not running. Running from what? My name. Kemi reached across the table and squeezed his hand. Your name was never chasing you, she said. It was waiting. Later that night, Mom and Kem visited quietly. You handled today well, she said. I was terrified, Tunde admitted. Good. He frowned slightly. Good. Fear keeps pride soft. He laughed lightly. You enjoy confusing me. She smiled. There is something else, she said. He straightened. What? The oath is not only about blood. What else? It is about protection. I said I would protect the land. Yes, but protection sometimes requires sacrifice. His expression tightened. I've already bled. Not everything costs blood, she said calmly. Then what? She studied him. Time, presence, leadership. He exhaled slowly. I left this place for years. Yes. And now you return differently. He nodded thoughtfully. Before leaving, Mom and Kem turned back once more. They never demanded death, she reminded him. They demanded remembrance. He repeated the words softly after she left. They demanded remembrance. And for the first time, he understood. If you've made it this far, you can already see the story isn't about fear, it's about identity. And if stories like this speak to you, make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss the next one. The final part reveals what Tunde truly becomes. Weeks passed, and the village began to change. Not dramatically, not in a way that erased the past, but in a way that respected it. Tunde supervised the construction of a small health center near the entrance of the village. The new road curved carefully around the shrine instead of cutting through it. Workers no longer approached the land with fear. They approached it with awareness. One afternoon, as Tunde stood reviewing the site, Chief Okoro walked beside him. You carry yourself differently now, the chief observed. How? You listen before you speak. Tunde smiled faintly. I used to think listening made me weak. And now, I think it makes me responsible. Chief Okoro nodded approvingly. Responsibility is heavier than pride. Tunde looked toward the shrine again. I still don't hear them like Amara does. You don't need to, the chief replied. You only need to remember. That evening, Tunde gathered several young men from the village. We're starting something new, he said. Training programs, skills development. This place can grow without losing itself. One of the young men asked, and the shrine? It stays, Tunde answered firmly. It reminds us who we are. The young man nodded slowly. Your father would be proud. The words struck Tunde deeply. Later that night, he sat alone in his father's old study again. He opened the small notebook. They do not demand death. They demand remembrance. He traced the sentence gently with his finger. I understand now, he whispered. Kemi entered quietly. You've been in here long, she said. I'm talking to him. To your father? Yes. She sat beside him. What would you tell him? He took a long breath. That I judged him too quickly. That I thought he was afraid. And now, I know he was protecting. Kemi smiled softly. From what? From forgetting. They sat together in silence. Outside, Amara laughed with other children in the compound. Her voice was light, free. Kemi looked toward the window. She hasn't spoken in that other voice since. Tunde nodded. Maybe they're satisfied. Or maybe they trust you now. The thought settled warmly inside him. Days later, Mom and Kem visited once more. It is time, she said gently. For what? For you to enter alone. Tunde understood immediately. That evening, as the sun lowered peacefully. Not red this time, just golden. He walked toward the shrine. No crowd gathered. No wind rose. He pushed the door gently and stepped inside. The space felt calm. He knelt without being told. I don't know how to lead perfectly, he said softly. But I will not forget. Silence answered him. Not empty silence. Comfortable silence. He placed his palm on the ground. No blade this time. Just contact. I protect this land, he continued quietly. And I protect the people who belong to it. He remained there for a long moment. Then he stood and walked out. Mom and Kem waited outside. You heard nothing? She asked.
No.
She smiled. Good. Good. Yes, it means you no longer need signs. He nodded slowly. That night, the village felt whole. Not because spirits moved. Not because miracles happened. But because balance existed. Tunde sat with his family under the open sky. Amara leaned against him. Daddy? Yes. Are they still here? He looked at the stars. Yes. Are they happy? He thought for a moment. I think they're at peace. She smiled and closed her eyes. Kemi rested her head on his shoulder. You were afraid this place would trap you, she said softly. I was. And now? He looked around, the people, the shrine in the distance, the new buildings rising carefully beside old trees. Now I know it was never a trap. It was a foundation. Kemi squeezed his hand gently. In the distance, the wind moved lightly through the trees. No whispers. No warnings. Just presence. Tunde understood something fully then. The ancestors had never demanded blood out of cruelty. They demanded it because blood carries memory. And memory keeps identity alive. He had given a drop. But what they truly wanted was his humility. And that he would continue to give. If the story touched you, if it reminded you of your own roots, take a moment right now to like this video so more people can hear it. Comment below, do you believe traditions should be preserved? Or should they evolve completely? And most importantly, subscribe to the channel for more powerful stories that explore culture, identity, and the unseen bonds that shape our lives. Because sometimes the ancestors do not ask for death. They ask to be remembered. And forgetting is the only real danger. The night settled peacefully over the village. And this time, no one was afraid.